Those are sayings from schools as teachers in basic schools have abandoned classrooms as they declare a strike against the appointment of the new director of the Ghana Education Service, Dr. Eric Nkansa. They say Dr. Nkansa is a banker and not a professional teacher and does not qualify for that position. In the Upper West region, our reporter Rafiq Salam reports that pupils in schools have closed because of absence of teachers in the classroom. He spoke earlier to my colleague, but he's joining me on phone for more with this. Rafiq Salam, if you're there, what more can you tell us from Wa? Well, we can now go to the Ashanti region and gauge the mood there. My colleague Emmanuel Bright Kweko has been visiting some schools and he joins me on the line. Bright, what can you report from the Ashanti region?
All right, thanks. So I've been to a number of schools here in the Ashanti region, some senior high schools and basic schools, and I can confirm that some teachers are in class teaching their students. They tell me the declaration of the strike actually came in late on Friday, so most of them did not know that this was what was going to happen. So they came to school today, and some of the authorities tell me the Ministry of Employment and the teacher unions are in talks at the moment. So once they declare, once they do not get any resolution out of that, they will be forced not to teach from tomorrow going. But the doors of the schools will be open to the students to come in and teach. And even with the students, some of them and the teachers, some of them will decide on their own. It will be on their discretion to teach the students or not.
How are the parents taking this? Have you spoken to any?
For now, we haven't spoken to any of the parents. Actually, the students are in school, so I think most of them do not know whether these teachers are on strike at the moment. So from tomorrow onwards, if nothing happens, if we do not get any resolution from the meeting, then the parents might have some concerns over this matter.
Let's go to the Bono East region, where my colleague Anas Sabit reports that pupils in the region came to school but were disappointed that the teachers stayed away. And just on your screens, you can see visuals of the children playing and using their lesson time for other activities because the teachers are away. We can now speak with Rafiq Salam, who is in Wa, who's also been monitoring some schools for us. Rafiq, what can you report from where you are? Rafiq Salam, if you can hear me, what can you report from the schools that you visited?
I can tell you that in the Upper West region, most schools here have closed down because the teachers are not present. We were told by the teachers this morning, the few that were at the various schools told us that the information really came late, and because of that, they were not able to inform all their colleagues. So this morning, when they go to school, they were adequately and appropriately informed that they are on strike. And so what they did was to close down the schools and ask the pupils to go home.
Have you spoken with parents and school authorities? I mean, what's being done about this?
For the parents, they are deeply worried to the marrow about what's really happening in the education circles, because for them, they are saying that they are their wit's ends. They don't really know what's really going on in the education sector in the region. For them, they don't even know when schools are supposed to go on vacation or when they are supposed to open. And even when they are there, it's not structured as it used to be. And so parents are really deeply worried about what is really happening now. And so some of the pupils who were asked to go home, some of them are engaged. They are working as apprentices in some industrial areas, talking about the One magazine. So some told me that they'll be going back to the magazine to continue their mechanic work.
Rafiq Salam is from WA, and he's telling us about the situation in that area. He says the teachers are still away and children and their parents are disappointed. Meanwhile, minority in Parliament wants Education Minister Dr. Yao Osei-Duchum to immediately resolve the concerns of the teachers. Speaking to journalists, minority spokesperson on education Peter Nochukoto said the committee in Parliament will intervene if the minister is unable to get the teachers back into the classroom.
Let me begin by saying that some of us were not happy with the circumstances that surrounded the dismissal of the former Director General, that is Professor Opoku Amankwa. We have worked with him, and we know what he could do and what he was doing. But unfortunately, we are not the appointing authority. So they knew why they removed him. And why we're not happy was that this man had about a few months to go on retirement. So the best could have been ask him to go on retirement prior to retirement. But this was not done. So we are not quite happy with that. But with the appointment of the Director General, that is Dr. Eric Nkansa, as a committee or as an individual, we don't have a hand in it. Yeah, so it is solely the government. But the dimension it has taken now gives us a concern. As far as teacher unions declaring a strike from today, 4th of November, yeah. So I would rather call on the Minister for Education to engage the teacher unions and explain to them the rationale behind the appointment of Dr. Eric Nkansa.
Public Relations Office of the Ministry of Education, Kwesi Kwarteng, however, says government is engaging the unions to call off their strike. He spoke on the AM show.
Back to the classroom. And that we are hopeful.
And is there a possibility that Mr. Nkansa might be changed?
That's what I'm saying, that when you are going into an engagement, you don't go with an entrenched position. You understand?
Yeah.
Anything is possible. Just like even the teachers, themselves can change their mind. I mean, the ministry's position is not very fixated. Anything can happen.
Yeah.
And I am not. I think it wouldn't be fair to the rules of engagement that I prejudice whatever they are going to engage or whatever they are going to discuss.
All right. So today we're hoping for a proper outcome, which is that teachers should go back to the classroom, right?
Yes. By 2 p.m. today, when the leadership meets, that is what we expect.
Meanwhile, a professor of education at the University of Cape Coast, Professor George Odro, is asking the Ministry of Education to withdraw the appointment of the Director General of the GES and appoint one of the Deputy Director Generals of the service for the position. 3 teacher unions, the Ghana National Association of Teachers, NAT, the National Association of Graduate Teachers, NAGRAT, and the Coalition of Concerned Teachers have declared a strike over the appointment of Dr. Eric Nkansa. Speaking in an interview with JoyNews, Professor George Kwekodro warned that disregard for procedures, systems, and structures may have a negative impact on the delivery of quality education in Ghana.
The former Director General worked with Deputy Director Generals. So if it is a question of acting, I would have appointed a deputy director, recommended a deputy director of Director General of the Ghana Education Service to play the role of the acting Director General. If it becomes necessary for me to look elsewhere, I will look at the directors of education, look at the most senior ones, committed ones, and then recommend for consideration. If it is a question of getting to the universities, I would look for university lecturers who are within the faculties of education of the universities, whose area is in pre-tertiary education, basic education, and recommend for appointment. I would not just appoint any other person. By principle, I would have declined the offer, knowing very well that my background is not in that area. I would have pleaded with the Minister of Education to let me retain and support him in the Ministry of Education, but not at the Ghana Education Service. That is what I would have done. And I know that I'm very sure my good brother, Dr. Nkansa, it's not very easy what's happening. You see, one of the things that we need to know that the minister might use his power to say that, yes, I'm not going to heed the unions and all those things. But you shouldn't forget that you're working with people, you're working with unions. Dr. Nkansa needs the support of the unions to succeed. I've spoken to some directors of education. There are a number of directors of education who are not in favor of this.
The Tertiary University Teachers Association of Ghana, TUTAG, is accusing vice chancellors of technical universities of engaging some government agencies to defer some allowances from August 2021 to January next year. It has been negotiated together with the management of various technical universities that the internally generated fund component of allowances should be paid from August 2021. But the association claims the Ministry of Finance is yet to comply with the National Labour Commission's ruling in releasing letters to the various university councils to make the necessary budgetary allocation for the purpose. President of TUTAG, Professor Collins Ameao, says their intelligence points to the Vice Chancellor's involvement in the delays.
Yes, to the various university councils within reasonable time to make budgetary provisions in the budget to take care of the payment on the effective date. Ladies and gentlemen, subsequent to these rulings, TUTAG has endured several processes expected to have culminated into the Minister of Finance issuing an authorization letter to the universities to effect payment. Unfortunately, despite the numerous follow-ups, the Minister of Finance has not shown any commitment to issue the letter to the universities. Invariably, TUTAG members have been denied their appropriate benefits within the scope of reviewed IGF conditions of service. It is also important to note that the technical universities have finished preparing their 2023 budgets and same submitted to GTEC, that's the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission. The inertia being displayed by the Minister of Finance in refusing to authorize councils of TUs, as directed by the NLC, to budget for and pay these allowances is creating uneasiness on various campuses of TUs. To forestall the unexpected, TUTAG wrote to the National Labour Commission on 20th October 2022, praying the Commission to invoke its own powers by enforcing the orders aforementioned, as per Section 172 of the Labour Act 2003 at 651. Surprisingly, the Commission seems reluctant in enforcing its own ruling, a posture we are highly dissatisfied with. Another worrying observation is the attitude of the Vice Chancellors of technical universities in this matter. TUTAG has picked intelligence which suggests that the Vice Chancellors is in backdoor negotiations with some government agencies to defer the effective date of the IGF-related conditions of service to January 2023 instead of August 2021. We wish to state that the above action by the VCs amounts to unfair labor practice, especially when we have concluded negotiations on the allowances in question. We wish to bring to the attention of the VCs that their interference with the process has unduly delayed the issuance of the letter from the Ministry of Finance, which will give effect to the implementation of the negotiated allowances. We therefore advise the VCs to henceforth desist from any such interference in the work of TUTAC to ensure industrial harmony on the campuses of the technical universities. Ladies and gentlemen, another issue worth considering is the unilateral variation of the conditions of service of staff of universities in Ghana. TUTAC wishes to register its highest displeasure against the unilateral variation of the determination or computation of the off-campus and vehicle maintenance allowances. TUTAC has openly supported the ongoing strike action and backed on by UTAC and 3 other labor unions, and would have joined but for very good reasons. We wish to reiterate our earlier position that the decision by the government to unilaterally vary our conditions of service is illegal and must be reversed with immediate effect. Meanwhile, TUTAC has taken the right steps to bring to the attention of the government and the National Labour Commission. On 26 September 2022, its rejection of government's refusal to adjust the off-campus and vehicle maintenance allowance rates using the reviewed export price at that time.
Let's go to Parliament, because Parliament will this week take a crucial vote to determine the fate of Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta on the vote of censure filed by NDC MPs in the House. The debate and votes on the censure motion will be taken on Thursday following the expiration of the 7-day notice the Constitution mandates. Speaking to journalists, Deputy Minority Whip Ahmed Ibrahim said all NDC MPs have been instructed not to miss sittings in order to get the required number.
The motion of censure is slated to be moved on Thursday, the 10th of November 2022. And the majority chief, the Honorable Mutaka Mubarak, has sounded a note of caution to all minority MPs that all the 136 MPs must be in the chamber on Thursday, 2022. So any member who may absent himself from the chamber is at his own risk. And bear in mind that the whole Ghana is interested in this motion. The Minister of Finance himself is duly served to come and open his defense on Thursday. So everybody must be prepared that on Thursday, the motion of censure is going to be moved, and the motion stands in the name of the Honorable Minority Leader, Honorable Haruna Idrisu, and Honorable Minority Chief, Honorable Mutaka Mubarak. So what we are to do is to make sure that as the first Deputy Minority Whip, my boss is not here. So I'm using this medium to whip our members to the chamber on Thursday. Our constituents are interested in this motion. The majority MPs, all the 137 majority MPs, are also saying that the motion to censure Ken Ofori-Atta is a collective responsibility. So now we were all doing press conferences. The ball is set and it's in our court. On Thursday, whether we want Ken Ofori-Atta to be impeached or to be censured, the opportunity is being given to us by the right honorable speaker. In my 14 years stay in this house, this is the first time a motion of censure is going to be moved in the chamber. And this is the first time the minister will be given the opportunity to come and open his defense. Me, if it were to be me, I don't think I will wait to come and be opening some defense, because if you look at the motion itself, it has been advertised with some of the parliamentary questions that the minister came to answer as some of the evidence that we are serving to the generality of Ghanaians. The minister's company, Data Bank, benefiting from some of the loans that he's been getting, the commissions and all those, and they are all here. He came to answer the question on the floor. So we are waiting to see as to whether Thursday he's coming to repeat the same thing.
For the vote of censure to succeed, 183 MPs must vote for it, with a minority having only 136 MPs. 46 NPP MPs must join them. Ahmed Ibrahim believes the NPP MPs will not go against their call to get the finance minister sacked and will vote to remove him.
The constitution is supreme. And don't forget, the House has already been poisoned by allegations upon allegations. So whether there are substance in those allegations or not, all are going to be proved on Thursday. And we are duty bearers. We are the leaders of the country. You cannot be making allegations upon allegations, lamentations upon lamentations. We must move from the Old Testament into the New Testament. We must walk the talk. They staged a press conference, a group of 95. Is the president superior to the Constitution? The Constitution is supreme. And the Constitution says that once the motion has been received by the Speaker, he must work, Article 82.3, he must work upon it. It must be debated and passed within 14 days. So the Speaker cannot, the President pleading cannot supersede the supremacy of the Constitution. And therefore, we have sworn an oath to make sure that we defend the 1992 Constitution. So on Thursday, the Haruna Idrisu and Motaka motion is going to be moved. It will be put into vote. What we are looking for from our side is that all the 136 minority MPs, we must register our 136. When those allegations came, you didn't hear any minority names inside. So as to whether the majority are going to walk the talk to make sure that the motion, that the press conference that is staged, that Ken Oforata must go, they still stand by it. It's over to them. But I strongly believe that per the information and the signals I'm picking this morning, they are still going to walk the talk. And the best thing for the president and the minister to do would have been there for the minister for finance to say that enough is enough. After all, he's the longest serving finance minister.
The Banda MP says it is very important to remove Ken Ofori-Atta now before the economic situation worsens, urging the minister to step down even before the vote.
The G95, we don't have the luxury of time. And where we are, even if you listen to the speaker, the mere slating of the motion and advertising the motion that Ghanaians Parliament has taken a move to censure the Minister for Finance alone, the cedi is appreciating against the dollar. It used to be the reverse was the case before. So clearly, Ghanaians are not just saying we don't want the finance minister. But what we are saying is that where we are now, this finance minister cannot play the game. And I strongly believe you are asking, should we not be able to garner all the votes, 183 votes, to make sure that the minister goes? What next? There is no constitutional provision which says that the motion must be slated once. We are saying that the minister has failed. And if the president and the majority side relent on their mandate and the minister is still maintained, when the economy continues to be in crisis, we can't keep on blaming Russia, Ukraine.
Away from Parliament, the Ghana Medical Association wants government to take measures to address the age-old problem of doctors migrating from the country in search of greener pastures, beginning with better conditions of service and improved remuneration for doctors. They have been issuing a communique at the end of the 64th Annual General Conference of the GMA held at Bolgatanga in the Upper East region. President of the Ghana Medical Association, Dr. Frank Stribo, read the communique.
Immigration of medical doctors from Ghana is an age-old problem that continues to deplete the country country of this much-needed human resource. In recent times, there have been a surge in the number of health workers, including medical doctors, leaving the country. The reasons for immigration of medical doctors seems to vary with time. A recent survey of 360 doctors currently practicing in Ghana showed that about 90% have ever considered leaving the country to move to more developed countries. The reasons for which doctors leave Ghana include the search for better income, improved working and living conditions, better life and schools for their children, and opportunities for better education. The Ghana Medical Association calls on government to, as a matter of urgency, address underlying factors to help minimize the rate of immigration of medical doctors and other health workers. What we are saying is that our salaries keep depreciating by the day, and I was paid better as a house officer in terms of the value of my money than now as a specialist. So it tells you that we have to find a solution to that problem. And one of the solutions is that we should begin to peg our allowances against the dollar, so that once that happens, at least we are sure that our salaries can maintain its value. So we are not running away from it. We would push for it, and it is one of the stands that we'll be taking in our next negotiations. In fact, even the fuel allowance, it is key that we begin to peg our fuel allowance against the dollar, so that when the fuel prices begin to misbehave like they are doing now, we are sure that we can get value for money.
The United Nations is urging the government and the people of Ghana not to take its democratic stability and peace for granted. The country has successfully held general elections and has gained the accolade of being the beacon of democracy in Africa. However, given the recent military overthrows in West Africa, including neighboring Burkina Faso, and a sharp rise in protests across the country, the United Nations is worried that the country's peace could be jeopardized. Speaking on foreign affairs, Charles Abani, the UN resident coordinator in Ghana, intimated that the principles of good governance and transparency ought to be strengthened and that Ghanaians should not take their peace for granted.
Third area is on durable peace. Both in Ghana and sub-regionally. Right. Ghana has a strong history of being a peaceful nation, but it's surrounded by a lot of conflict at the moment.
You're concerned about that?
In all areas, from the Sahel, and even, as we know, the Gulf of Guinea yes. Has some of the highest, the highest rates of piracy in the world, right. bar none. And so working on peace and security is important. And if you look at the foundational principles of the United Nations, it's peace, security, and development, right? And we know that without peace, actually, there is no development.
The belief is we should be supporting democratic institutions just to uphold and to keep up the morale just as we move on, because what we see is that democracy appears to be in recession in the West African sub-region. Do you share the same view?
Of course we do. Clearly, we've had 3 coups and 3 changes of government undemocratically in the sub-region. And the president of Ghana has done a good job in terms of trying to rally the forces when he was chair of ECOWAS, and continues to push that. But we know that at the center of progress, I call governance, good governance, I call it the fluid that runs in the pipes, if you like, the grease. Right. Because without it, nothing will happen. And we see rises in protests when injustice, unfairness, inequity seems to be at its highest. And so for us, governance, transparency, accountability, these are threads that run through everything that the UN does. Ghana, like with being a peaceful country, also has an enviable track record on the continent around elections.
What's the live on Joy News today? We'll take a break. When we return, we'll bring you the very latest from the world of business.
And it's time to do business here on JoyNews today with me, Beverly Broom. The Office of the Registrar of Companies has has hinted at delisting some more companies failing to comply with the directive issued by the department to file their annual returns before the end of the year. According to the Registrar of Companies, Jemima Owari, this is part of efforts to streamline the activities of her outfit. Speaking to Joy Business at a forum, she urged companies to do so before the end of November.
I think it's far better than it was initially when we started, because we started issuing penalties for companies that do not file their annual returns and financial statements on time. So clearly now we are rather even being inundated by our clients to file their returns. Sometimes it's the system that rather prevents them from filing. So I think it's far better, because I think we've done a bit of sensitization around that, so people actually want to comply now. So we have a current system that is giving us a bit of challenge, but we are hoping that with the new software that will be deploying by next year, it will really make it far easier for them to comply by updating their records. Yeah, the plans are always there, but before the end of this year, we started taking companies off the register who had not updated their records since 2011. We had about 100,000 of such companies. We have only delisted about 2,000 of them. And so before the end of the year, we're going to delist another 2,000 of such companies. We've given them enough notice, in fact, more than a year, and they've still not complied by coming to file their returns. So those ones will definitely go off. We'll continue delisting until we get a register that is credible with businesses that are really operating in the country and complying with the tenets of the Companies Act. We'll continue.
Now, a senior manager at KPMG, Patience Zikunu, has underscored the need for accountants to uphold high ethical standards in their line of work. According to her, the accounting profession is a noble profession. Therefore, it is incumbent on professionals to maintain a high level of integrity. Thus, more in the following report.
International Accounting Day celebration started in 1972. To mark the day, professionals in the accounting field across the world organized various sensitization programs and outreaches to build interest in the accounting profession. As part of activities to celebrate the day in Ghana, leading accounting firm KPMG organized a career guidance day at the Labone Senior High School. Speaking at the ceremony, senior manager at KPMG, Patience Zikunu, called on accountants to maintain high ethical standards in their line of work. She also called on companies to ensure the compliance of these standards in their service delivery.
It's very, very important, and for us at KPMG, that is one of our values that we uphold. The ethical standards, and for us, we ensure that everyone that comes into our fold, you go through, we do training every year, and we are expected to maintain that. We shouldn't just be seen to be professionals, we shouldn't just to be doing the right thing, but we should be actually doing it. And that perception, we should give the perception that what we are doing is right. It's very, very important. So for us, we don't just say, we do this. It's one of the values that we uphold in KPMG.
On the changing trends of the accounting profession, Ms. Zikunu said the profession has evolved beyond the traditional role of bookkeeping and auditing. She added that accounting reports are now focusing on qualitative analysis, which explores non-financial factors like environmental, social, and governance standards to identify risks and growth opportunities.
As part of the career day, to encourage the youth to take up the profession, and we are also going to look at the modern trends, what is happening in the profession, what we are expected to do as accountants in these contemporary times. What traditionally the role of the accountant was just bookkeeping, but accounting has now evolved into more than just bookkeeping or maintaining the books or auditing and all that. There's more to accounting than, we are doing more of governance, and we are more into like ESG, environmental issues, social reporting. We do more of quality reporting than just quantitative reporting. It's no more just the figures, but we are looking at qualitative reporting.
Career Guidance event, which was organized by KPMG, is the first of many programs outlined by KPMG to commemorate the day.
On myjoyonline.com/business. My name is Beverly Broom. Up next, the sports.
Let's do sports now on Joy News today with me, Muftau Nabila Abdullah. Former Black Stars head coach Charles Koblan Akono says there were many times the leadership of the Ghana Football Association influenced national team call-ups. Speaking on Prime Talk on Sunday, Akono described the environment he worked at as challenging.
You see, a lot of people would talk because they are outside, they don't know what was going on. You know, there were players who couldn't have come. There were players who were available. They had come previous matches, they didn't do well. Maybe there was an opportunity for me to, if I've had a full squad, I wouldn't invite them again. You understand? Players like Lomote, for instance, Lomote, it got to it, I wasn't happy with it, so I was not going to invite him. But
why was he always a mainstay in the team?
No, he wasn't. It was because, like I told you, the situation. If you are going to use a player who had had a chance of playing and somebody who have not had any experience at all, who will you pick?
But you told us you had a pool of 40 players, so it means that you could.
No. A pool of 40 players. I'm saying the 40 players which I had, maybe 20 players were out. Well, at that time I had them, but when it got to the time to invite the players, I couldn't get them. That was what was happening. You know, there was a time we even invited Fatah, is it Fatah, the goalkeeper?
Yeah, Fatah Dauda.
Yeah, Fatah Dauda.
Yes.
He was not part of the, but something happened. Immediately, I couldn't speak, bring it out. Something happened with the goalkeepers.
What happened?
So, somebody one of them had COVID.
Oh, okay.
And we couldn't take him along. So and it was the day, I think the day or a day or two before we left. Yeah. You can't invite, the time of inviting a player
to fly.
It's out. You have to do something immediately. You understand me? So it was always challenging, always challenging. I can understand the argument of certain people.
Yes.
You know, I could also understand those who didn't like me as a coach. At that time, they favored other people. But you see, we must be patient. We must be patient.
Did they impose players on you? Did the GFA impose players on you?
Well, this is everywhere. We've already discussed it. It's everywhere. There were players, you know, everybody has, if I ask you to choose players, then even you choose players that I don't want.
But there's a possibility that we can also choose players and the difference might just be one or two players.
I agree.
Yes.
You know, so there was this situation, but I had to make a final.
You had the final say on the squad that was being selected.
It was always a challenge, a situation where it was challenging, very, very challenging. And I know why you're asking that.
Yes.
Yeah. It was always challenging. There was always a problem in that aspect.
In that aspect, because I can recall personally reporting some of these stories, and this one I'm speaking as a witness because two players. I reported that story that you. And
I was told I was doing it with you. Anything that happened.
Oh, we were told that.
Yeah, anything happened negative concerning the team, it's me.
Who accused you of doing that with
the management, they were always accusing me of that. I was the one doing it. And the day, you know, there was once, hey, let me even talk, it's okay. We had a press conference. I didn't know it was you because when you brought that story out, and I saw the name, so when we were going to ask the question, you mentioned your name, and I said, so it's you. You know, I said, so it's you. I don't know how you got that but the story was true. What you said was true. These two names were part of the squad. They were out.
So who removed them?
I wouldn't be able to. I won't tell you.
Now, let's do UEFA Champions League. The draw for the round of 16 was done just a couple of minutes ago. And we have RB Leipzig. They will be coming up against Manchester City. Club Brugge will play Benfica. Liverpool will play Real Madrid. A repeat of the grand finale witnessed last season. AC Milan versus Tottenham Hotspur. Eintracht Frankfurt will come up against Napoli. Borussia Dortmund versus Chelsea. Inter Milan versus FC Porto. And PSG will come up against Bayern Munich. These are the fixtures for a round of 16 in the UEFA Champions League. And this is our wrap-up sports here on Joy News today with me, Muftau Nabila Abla. You can head on to my joyonline.com and read some more sports stories. And also do join my colleague Nathaniel Arthur at 2 p.m. when he comes your way with sports today. Up next is World News. And on Showbiz this afternoon, Joy Prime's Big Chef cooking show saw another intriguing episode on Sunday. It was an eviction-free day. Contestants were challenged to prepare any meal using chicken as the main ingredient. At the end of the competition, Laura came top as best performer for the third time. Here's what she missed.
Every week in the Big Chef kitchen, contestants prepare and present delectable cuisines. It's never wrong to have a chicken moment, and so this week, contestants took on the chicken challenge.
2, 1.
President Feli and Chef Sam were the guest judges, and these were their expectations.
I love my chicken juicy, soft. When I say soft, I mean tender, and of course, tasty. I expect our chefs to give us nothing but the best.
How they are going to use their knife, that is the knife techniques, the various kind of chicken they are going to be cutting, and what they are used for.
This is really, really good.
Thank you.
They are eating, so just relax.
Small. These are small.
And after 2 years.
Small.
Sweet and sour chicken.
Sweet and sour chicken sauce.
Yes.
I like your presentation too.
Thank you.
The chicken actually does melt in your mouth.
Exactly.
And I really like it. You've done well.
Chicken in potom.
Actually, it's like a perfect dish for me.
The yam too is well cooked.
Well cooked yam.
Looking at the time.
Serious?
Done well.
Okay, you've done well.
Laura came top as the best performer. Judges were kind not to evict, and so it was an eviction.
Yeah, good news. Because I'm here, nobody's going home. For us today.
The search for Ghana's biggest kiddie chef continues.
That's my own sauce.
And that's it for Showbiz. That's how we wrap up the bulletin this afternoon. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Log on to myjoyonline.com. You get more of the news and updates of all the developing stories. Do enjoy the rest of our programs.